I think the pressure is important in life as well, and you want to be under pressure, and sometimes you wanna go through that, and sometimes things are happening that are not just purely designed and you haven't thought of them, but they just happen.
¿Qué nos impulsa a crear? ¿Cuán lejos podemos ir hasta encontrar lo que necesitamos como artistas? Quizás haya una o más respuestas, pero me interesa que juntos exploremos el camino. Mi nombre es Ramiro AMK Fernández y este podcast se llama La Bicicleta Creativa.
Today's guest is Tomek Suwalski. He's director, screenwriter, and VFX artist with over 15 years in film and cinematic industry. He's celebrated for powerful trailers for AAA games such as Witcher 4, Metro Exodus, and Dying Light 2, among others. Blending strong narrative with stunning visuals, he worked with leading gaming brands and major film studios. Today, we'll talk about his creative process.
Welcome back to a new exciting episode of La Bicicleta Creativa. My name is Ramiro AMK Fernández, and I'm super happy because we are live at Mundos Digitales, one of the greatest events in all Europe regarding VFX, animation, and new media. And also I'm happy because I have a super guest today. He's a screenwriter, director at Platich Image. So let's welcome Tomek Suwalski. How are you, Tomek?
Hi.
Welcome.
I'm very good. Hi. How are you?
All good?
All good?
You arrived today?
No, I arrived yesterday, actually, yeah.
Okay.
But the flight was like, the whole journey was 10 hours because we had to have a layover in Madrid to go here. But yeah, I'm all good. We've just had the presentation and I have this off my list now.
Yeah, you are chill now. Okay. The first thing I want to ask you is, did you know Mundos Digitales already? Have you been before?
I haven't been before here, but I do know about the festival. Yeah, I did hear about it, so
And
I have been.
What do you think about it? What you could tell to the audience about it?
Well, I'm surprised how big it is, actually. And I was looking at the schedule just a day before traveling, and I was like, oh my God, it's like 3 venues, 3 days. It's I think the scale is like FMX in Stuttgart, which where I was there, and I was impressive. And I see this is likely the same scale of festival, and the auditorium is beautiful. The hall here is magnificent, and it can, handle so many people inside. So it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. And let me tell you, you just arrived, but the energy is incredible. So you will enjoy it from now on. Yeah. So let me tell you a little bit about the dynamic of this podcast.
All right.
So based on your incredible work, I thought carefully a word that will be the Kickstarter for our conversation to dive deep into creative waters. Sounds good?
Yeah, sounds cool, man.
Okay. So the word for you is impact.
Impact. Okay.
What are your thoughts about it?
About impact. Well, regarding my work or just in general?
Whatever you feel free.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm actually a huge idealist and huge believer in arts. So I do want to believe that art has an impact in our lives, and for sure it has in mine. And I can't imagine, going through life and not experiencing art. And I try to spend as much time as possible surrounding myself with, books, movies, games, and whatnot. And it fulfills my days and fulfills my years. And I can't imagine, a world without art. And I do hope and believe that art can have an impact, and that, however naive that sounds, a great novel or a great movie in the right time of your life can have an effect on you and give you ideas, inspire you, make you more hopeful, drag you from abyss of wherever you are, and I think that's beautiful, and that's, something that I also want to dedicate my life to, to be able to also provide this as a creator.
That sounds incredible. And I relate too much with this because I couldn't live without art.
Yeah.
It's like the air I breathe. And I wanted to ask you first, if you remember something that made such an impact on you that you decided to, okay, I need to do this. I want to go doing, I don't know, not cinematics maybe at the time, but doing art or communicating what I feel in a narrative support, etc. If you remember something like, oh my God.
Yeah, I remember that my imagination was wild from the early childhood, and my mother used to collect those. So in school, you had those little stories that you would have to write for school, and I remember one particular thing when there was some story about some girls, and the teacher just stopped the story at one point and said to the class, so now your task is to write what's happening next.
Okay.
And I was, I don't know, 7 or something. I was a very, very early stages of education. And I did put it like into a quite gruesome horror story where, of course, those girls, they die and whatever. And it was a shock, the teacher was like, she's like, oh, it's a very good written, but it's very dark and stuff. And I remember my mother just collecting those stories from that point on, so, but that was for fun. And I used to do it in high school as well, because I was very bored at school, and especially and what we like the Polish lessons. So, just the literature and stuff, which I should be amazed by, but for whatever reason it wasn't so interesting. But I was spending my my time at school writing those crazy short stories, imagining some characters, and I actually had a group of friends that were waiting for that, after the lesson. So I read them out loud, in the corridor. And this is the most crazy story. Like
newsletter?
yeah, I was sitting down producing some, crazy things, and they were gathering those stories because they loved it for whatever reason, and I could go, crazy in that. But so like writing was my first tool for sure, and I did publish my first professional short story when I was 19.
Okay.
I managed to put it into a nationwide science fiction magazine because I'm still writing science fiction till these days now. I love it. I never wrote a novel, but I'm still writing short stories. Maybe I'll write a novel one day. But I spend more times trying to write screenplays now for features or for TV. But so writing was there. But I also remember, as I was born in the 80s, so I was a huge Star Wars fan, of course. Yeah. And I had this VHS tape of The Return of the Jedi, which my father brought. He was, working on the container ships, and he brought it from Holland, from Netherlands, and it had like the Dutch subtitles on this. And I didn't know that there was any other part than Return of the Jedi. I thought it's just this one movie, and I was watching it every day, for years. And only then someone told me, hey, there are like 2 more. It's like, what? Like, you cannot be serious. So, I was a huge Star Wars buff for sure, and I went deep into, the whole science fiction, fantasy, horror, but also fiction and general fiction. Nowadays, I read more general fiction than sci-fi, to be honest. But I was always in this world of literature and movies. And then, I was probably at the right age when the next Star Wars trilogy was coming, to the first part and stuff. These are very specific movies, and probably for our generations, they're not as. For us, the first trilogy is impactful, right?
Of course.
But the younger generations, they tend to like the Clone Wars and the.
Maybe they discovered that and say, oh, and you say like, no.
But what I
see 4.
yeah. But what I remember from that time was the hype that was around the movie. That was both the time of The Matrix and Star Wars Episode 1 and Fight Club, and I remember, coming back from those movies changed. I remember, I was at the movies every weekend, all weekend, and I remember especially those 3 movies just coming back, and Fight Club as well, just coming back from that, I was just a different person, because you are still maturing, you are still, trying to find your way. And I was like, it had such an impact on me, it was unimaginable. And I also remember the whole hype that was around the Phantom Menace, the first Star Wars episode. Of course, I went, for the midnight screening, during the night to be the first. But the movie was the movie, and I don't revisit back the first trilogy anymore. But I remember just the hype that was around this, it was for months, living and discovering those little pieces. This character will be there, this will be there. The music appeared, some trailer, some teaser. I was so excited by that, and I for whatever reason, I tend to, put the mark that you're asking for, like when was this time. I used to put it on this moment when I was discovering the communication for Phantom Menace for the first time, and how excited I was, and I said, like, gosh, I wanna do this for people too. I would very much like to get people so excited as I am excited now for the movie. Even, disregarding how the movie came out and, what was later, I was still very young, so I did enjoy it at the time. But, it's not like I wouldn't put it in my top 10 favorite movies of all time, for sure. But I think it doesn't matter. What matters is the impact. And the 90s were a beautiful time for the cinema, and for books, and for music, to be honest. But you have like Jurassic Park. I remember standing in the line for 3 hours to get a ticket for Jurassic Park, and then on the national news there was a segment about Jurassic Park, and Spielberg bringing dinosaurs to life, and I just loved, the whole thing that was around that. And I wasn't mature enough to, that was just the beginning of the road, just to then dive deeper into, what storytelling means and how to operate within it, and just discover, this whole other genres of cinema, and the art house and everything that I was later on fascinated. But I remember this as a gateway to me actually for real starting to think that, those stories that I was creating, and maybe me, playing with some VHS camera with my friends, maybe this is something I could be doing. That was the time, and I was a teenager. So I was also very lucky to discover very early what I really want to do. But then the road was bumpy.
No,
to say the least.
Yeah, but I'm super glad that after those horror stories in school, you directed The Witcher and you didn't become a doctor or something like that. So I'm very glad that you discovered all the cinematic world. So
Yeah.
it's incredible. And I really like, enjoying and highlight what you're saying about maybe you don't revisit those movies now or whatever, but the experiencing the feeling of hype and that being anxious but for something good and being transformed after experience like a piece of art or a piece of like something in a media, and I relate with that sensation, and it's incredible. And you say I remember with the Matrix,
Yeah.
the Matrix, the numbers, wherever, I don't know what I'm going to see, and after seeing the movie, it's like I didn't expect that at all, and I don't know what to do with all of this right now.
Yes.
That feeling is incredible, and being able to say, okay, I will deconstruct this to create this feeling on other people is also beautiful. And I know that it's a bumpy road.
Yes.
So it's incredible. So if you think the time is right, I have another dynamic. So
All right.
we will keep the word in mind, of course.
Yes.
But I have some frames of some of your work because your career is so prolific. You had so many stuff.
Thank
that-
you.
So we could select one and randomly flip and talk about it. But if that is too much tension for you, we could
Too much drama.
too much trouble. We could flip everyone and we could talk wherever you want. So
Okay.
what feels better?
I'm picking.
Of course,
Oh man. Okay, I'll start at this one.
tension.
Oh my god.
Can you show it to camera?
Yes.
Oh my God, Metro Exodus.
Oh yeah.
I'm so fan of this.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, it's very nice of you to have this printed. There's everything is just on computer nowadays.
And something tactile.
Yes.
I think the people from our generation value this kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm still reading only printed books. I don't read ebooks. Yeah, really. That's the experience. Yeah. So that's the frame from the cinematic Metro Exodus. So that was the third installment of the game, and we had the privilege to. I actually did write that, and I did direct that, and the developer, that was 4A Games, and that was Deep Silver, which is now part of PlayOn. They were like that was beautiful times to work with those game companies, because it was before before game devs became really big and a little like divided into so many different disciplines. And for that we've actually worked with brand manager for Metro, which was who was Hugh Bainon, a great guy and an amazing collaborator. And that was he was like my touch point for that, and he was the one who approved the script and put it through the stakeholders of the company. And despite everyone seeing that, thought it's a crazy story and didn't know what to do about it, he was the one who said, yes, we should do. So I'm forever grateful for Hugh to allow this. And yeah, this particular frame is so the main character is called Artyom, and the whole series is based on books by Dmitry, who became my friend after that, and we are friends till now. And we do have some projects together, which is interesting as well. I cannot say more about this, but
We'll know in the future.
yeah. So like after this trailer, we connected and we became friends. And I started to read other books from Dmitry. And actually, Metro books were very popular in Poland. So that was like his second market for sales and the popularity. So I knew about the books and I knew about the games. What's interesting is Dmitry is also a co-writer on the games. So you have the first book, which is called Metro 2033, which is, there's a nuclear attack on Moscow and people go underground. That's the basic premise. And then you have the life spreading in the underground tunnels with different monsters and, politics and stuff. But then if you're old enough and you read the books, you realize that it's all very metaphorical for different political systems and for how Europe is, entangled in its history and politics. And so they did a first game called Metro Exodus 2033, which was a direct adaptation of the book. And then he wrote another book, Metro 2034, which then had a counterpart in games, which is called Metro Last Light. And these are parallel stories. It's not an adaptation. Last Light, it takes place in the same time, but the book is a different story.
Yes.
And then he wrote Metro 2035, which was the conclusion to trilogy. And for anyone wanting to read that, I really, I propose that you read all three, because he was very young writing the first one, and it's a very traditional nowadays, not traditional post-apo book, but then when you read the third one, it just gives you so much more meaning. And what's interesting is like Metro Exodus takes place after the last book, so it continues the story. And here the main challenge, and I would say even marketing challenge, because it's the first marketing asset that you put out to the world, telling about the game, was that for the first time we venture outside of Metro. So for the first time, the players can experience how this post-apocalyptic Russia looks. So we have those different environments. And I came with this idea that there is this Babushka, the nested doll.
Yeah.
And there is this character, which in my mind was always Artyom. And he's, unpacking those babushkas and transferring our character through different tragic events, through those different environments. And this frame in particular is where Artyom is outside on a train, running, on top of the carts, with Anna, his love of his life, trying to back him up, and he's, shooting those villains, and they are outside on this desert environments, which is one of the environments in the game. And then when he falls from the train, he falls and he grabs a railing, and then he sees that in one of those cars that the kid is sitting.
Oh my God, that kid!
And he's just looking at him and unpacking another babushka, and then the railing cracks, and Artyom falls, and he should fall into the sand, but he falls into the snow. And that was the transition to another scene that was taking place in Moscow, post-Apple Moscow with the snow and stuff. And
this is really incredible. I really enjoyed the cinematic. The transitions are amazing. I hated that child because every time I unpack something, I say, "No, my God, no. You have to race to not unpack that."
that's the point.
And one beautiful thing about this transition in particular, because I picked that frame, was that the snow, when he falls, goes into him.
Yeah.
It's not like going out. And when I saw that, I say, okay, there are research here. You have to throw yourself in the snow. You have to do simulation. I never, like writing, thought of that. And that reaction was like the level of detail, the care for the details for me is fantastic. And the drama and the changing of the environments. Even when he's in the train, I heard like the Wilhelm scream. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I always say yes, it's there. So,
Yeah. That was a funny story because I used to, back in the day, I used to do most of my edits by myself because I did have more time, and I was putting a lot of sound effects because I have a very sensitive ear for music and for sound, so I always need sounds for the edits just to understand it better. And I'm also from the school, like, you can tell a lot by sound. It's a whole another narration layer that you can have. And I did put it for fonts, but I didn't realize that, because I knew it, from film history, but I didn't realize that the internet is moving so fast that now everyone knows about Wilhelm scream, and I'm not original anymore. And then I look at the comments, and everyone is writing about the scream because someone did like a video essay about Wilhelm scream, and everyone saw that, and now everybody knew. And I was like, oh my God, but it's fun.
You're part of it. You understand what is happening there. So
Yes.
And also the parallelism between when he's running inside the house and the monster and all of that is beautiful. So in terms of script, it is also impactful. Every let me make a confession. Can I make a confession?
Of course.
When I was picking the word for you, I was just about picking the word action because of your cinematics.
Yeah.
But I know that you hate that because maybe people focus too much on the explosions,
Yeah.
and you're so like into tell stories. And I know that action also could tell, like, just moving this is an action, but I thought that the impact has that more emotional side and we could relate better.
Yeah.
But it was just to take action. But all the cinematics are like a lot of information, a lot of story, a lot of like I'm there seeing every frame.
Yeah. Games are very action driven. So, if you would see, some of my feature or TV writing or even my shorts, they're much more like just drama driven. And of course, it's difficult for directors to be able to do, because I like to do all of it. To be honest, I like to do car commercial and I like to shoot drama. I'm just fascinated by filmmaking and narration. But in the market, it's very hard to position yourself as a all-around guy because no one is all-around guy.
If you're not
no one
specific,
really wants all-around guy. But I do think like the directing is a jack of all trades, master of none. That's the craft. So, yeah, like people see a lot of action in my work and they sometimes feel like, oh, I can't do drama, which I don't think it's true, because I've been working with actors since film school, and I love that. But yeah, in general, action is, if you watch my demo reel with a lot of gaming stuff, it looks like an action movie.
No, but it's the baby with the mask. Do you want more drama than that? Oh my God, that's incredible.
This would never be allowed today, but so I'm so lucky to have this, probably.
In cancel.
I mean, yeah,
But it's very poetic image as
at
well.
unless Kojima calls me, so he's all into that. So and he's very original, so that'd be cool.
Okay, so you want to flip another one?
Oh yeah,
Go with the next
sure,
one?
yeah.
See what happens.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's this Call of Duty. So I've spent multiple years tackling few Call of Duty titles. Yeah, I think that was the first one. So that was Call of Duty Vanguard, which is in World War II. And these were more of like marketing separate pieces. So they were not part of the game. Because that was, I think this was after release, when you have, so the games are live now, so they, the developers, they want to keep the audiences and the players engaged. So I think every 3 months they are introducing new stories, new content, and I was doing all of them for a year, I think, and this one was connected to which first when we would have incredible crossover when we heard like Godzilla and King Kong are going to be part of Call of Duty, and we're like, what? Like, what? Are you serious? But then it turned out they actually had a very cool idea for that. And this is not actually the Kong Godzilla trailer. This is a trailer that was part of that, which is more of a story of discovering this device that makes Godzilla come from the seas. And yes, this for me this was particularly interesting because of the action master shot that comes right after this shot.
Like the camera one that is behind the
Yeah.
person. That camera for me is like it's like not only eye candy. I clapped alone in my house like, oh my God, this is beautiful, and I feel part of the scene. And I wanted to ask, do you like shoot multiple stuff and then combine it in post-production, because that sequence is super complex?
Yes. So we have 3 characters that we are introducing them in this shot when they are sliding and hiding behind the tank. But then you need, because characters are so important in Call of Duty, because some of those seasons they introduce new characters, new skin, new weapons, so it just, because a lot of this live services is about Warzone, so people enjoying the multiplayer mode. But also we also need to have, it would be good to show how each of the character fights, so what weapons they have and stuff. So I love master shots. I love one takes, and I even have some work that it's, exclusively one take. And I'm always very impressed by, because, despite this all being digital and being editable in every possible way, I'm a firm believer of capturing something in camera.
Yes.
And in this particular take, that we can take 20 takes to have this right, but if we have it, there is, I don't know, I don't want to say magic, but there's something clicks, like suddenly it all feels choreographed and natural, instead of just tweaking each element like in post.
Yeah, or pulling like a wiggle to the camera. It's not the same as being on
Yes. Yeah.
There is one that I think is not here, but there is one guy with like a shooting another, and the camera is like a dodging like a bullet or something like that, and you feel part of the scene. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's why I always. But funny thing is, for this I was doing camera myself. Because we were shooting Call of Duties on a stage in LA, because they do have so Activision has their own stages and the cast and stunt people are part of also the game content, so everyone is there. And for this, yeah, we had to took like I think 2 or 3 takes because just the volume wasn't enough for the characters to go from point A to point B. And then just later in post we introduced that, like, oh, we can dodge the turret of the tank, and so there was these little tweaks, but basically this camera is captured on stage, and I was the one running with that because I was like obsessed of having this ride. And yeah, just having one character go out from the tank, do its own fight sequence, then you pick up another one and you have a melee, a fight, and then there's this third character which is shooting and then just doing some nice stuff. So I think it's around 30 to 40 seconds of master shot action, which
And it sounds like you're proud of it.
yeah, I like it till these days. Yeah, I was one of the, because on my Instagram I put my work mostly. So that was one of the clips that was one of the shots that I put, like, oh, like for the love of master shots.
It's incredible. Yeah. And the feeling of seeing that for me is incredible. And I don't know if talk or not about the level of detail of that, because for me it's okay. I can say anything. It's amazing. So I cannot comment on anything. When you see like the tank with all the dirty and stuff, like the mud, it's like, I'm seeing.
Yeah, I work with incredible art director Karol Klonowski, who's my dear friend, and we did Metro together, we did this together, we did The Witcher together.
And the team is like The Witcher, like 200 people to do that, something like that.
For Metro, that was long time ago, so it's close like to 100 maybe. So now the teams are bigger, and Call of Duty is smaller because the movies just were smaller.
Yeah.
But like my art director, because for me art director is like a cinematographer for the live action shoot. And despite he's not actually operating the camera or something, but he's responsible for all the visual looks and details. And Karol is a very detailed guy, and he's I'm always telling him, like, listen, like, it's for me it's a little bit unfair in the CGI production, because our director is handling costumes, set environments, interior, exteriors, because you can craft the exterior as you want, lighting, compositing, grading, I mean, like, in movies it's like 5 people, doing that, but like he's obsessed, and he's one of those control freaks that he has hard time just letting go of some of the aspects. And we have a lot of conversations, and we know each other so well that, like, we do fight a lot over stuff, which sometimes intimidates other members of our team, but it's just how it is. I think it's creative and good. But like, yeah, Karol is putting so much details into those frames, and like pushing artists, just to have this stuff. And yeah, I remember the tank in particular, that we were like reusing some of the tank and then just like dirtying it up, and like, we discussed all those details before, because the choreography was fought before the shooting, and I was like, listen, I need a guy to slide in, so maybe let's have mud there and stuff. So from this one decision it goes into many more decisions. Like you need to have this old stuff getting together. Yeah.
Oh my god, it's incredible. I like to hear those stories. That is what.
Oh yeah,
be my guest, literally. What is that?
That's a very cool game you designed.
What is
man, yeah, that's sorry, here. So that's a live action frame from Company of Heroes 3.
Yeah. But you had already experience with the cinematics.
Yeah.
So for me, that was beautiful, because after you learn all of this, with virtual world and all the tools that you could have, how you could go back to the real stuff and implement that. You want, like, no, just do the camera or you're keeping your like directorial style of handling the camera, etc. Because was very interesting for me, and the impact of also narrating something that could be real, that is part of the story. So
yeah. Well, I started in live action, so like my first experience is like shooting live action and shooting shorts and commercials and music videos. So I was bringing all this film set knowledge to my CGI work. That's why I was for I'm not sure what's in there, but some of the projects they had like a rigged Steadicam for the virtual camera just to have the perfect movement. So I was really the guy who was like pushing to do it more and more real, in a self. So, and I love live action, and I would love to, keep the balance in the force and like have equal amount of CGI and live action projects, but the market verifies how this works, and once you start doing a lot of one thing, you keep doing a lot of one thing. So nowadays, like my CGI is, I have way more CGI projects than live action. But yeah, this project in particular, it has a format of a commercial because it's like 60-second. But it's also, a little short movie because it's just, it doesn't promote the product in itself, but it just shows a little World War II action.
Yeah.
And then it also has some cinematic, like game cinematic elements, which you could do. I mean, you could do this in CGI as well, the whole thing. But I had very good relation with Relic Entertainment, the Canadian company that was producing Company of Heroes 3, and that was years and years after Company of Heroes 2, and I think they took like 10 or 15 years, and that was very highly anticipated game. And I did a first, I did a reveal trailer which was 4 minutes long in CGI when there was Allied forces taking back Italian town in World War II. And that was the first marketing piece for Company of Heroes 3.
The one that opens with the girl closing the door and pulled like
Yes.
closed.
Yes. Yeah.
Incredible, yeah.
Yeah, that was this one. So that was full CGI, and then later on, I convinced them twice actually, because that's the second time, to do live action shoots for that, because the cinematic before was about ordinary people during World War II. So we had this in the desert. There's the girl running in the desert with a beautiful poem narrating this, and that was to show the tragic of just ordinary civilians during the war. And this was more action driven, and just to show allies going into an occupied town in Italy again. So we shoot that in Croatia actually, and the Croatian town was playing Italian town. And yeah, that was incredible, because we did took all the costumes from Paris. So there's the real World War II costumes with everything. We had cast from Croatia and extras from Croatia, and we found a. That's also always very funny, because first you do storyboards and you just like imagine, I want some mountains here and there, and for CGI you can actually have that. But we actually we found real life locations that look like storyboards. So I was like, oh my god, yeah. And so the plan was only to first multiplicate those soldiers in some wider shots, and of course add
All the
planes and add all the tanks. But for the tank, I wanted to have a real life reference, so we took a 6-wheel buggy or whatever that was, and we put a turret on that, and we put some
From fabric on.
some parts of tank, some some metal parts that could be referenced, and he was actually in the shot. And then he was composited out, and the tanks were put in. So yeah, and the movie starts with rock paper scissors between those two soldiers. Which one of them is jumping out first? And there's the explosion, which is a real explosion actually. So yeah, that was.
So going back to those real challenges of shooting in real life, also is, I guess, demanding. And you have you have to decide with way more pressure on something like that, with explosions, with people, etc. That I guess in a set with mocap suits, and then you could retouch real.
Yes.
So did you find in there saying like, I need to decide something, I have a blocking or what I have to do with this? Or
Yeah.
it was very straightforward, like the pipeline, etc.
Actually, that might sound strange, but I kind of love this, that you have this pressure on you.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I do operate very well under pressure. And
Like now.
yes, exactly. Those sets, they tend to be very intense, and you have outdoor weather, you have a lot of people, you have real life explosions, everything can go wrong. We had almost our Steadicam operator falling with the Steadicam, almost, because also the ground is in rocks.
Yeah.
And we did crave, some of the parts of that. There was just like excavators, digging holes in that and stuff. Yeah, we actually took a bit part of a hill. And I love that, you have the improvisation, you have the things that you do. Like, for example, they ran out and one of them stumbles. I didn't plan for that. He just did this. And I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. Now we have to repeat that because I need this in the shot earlier,
Every time.
Yeah, so it's very there's a lot of pressure, especially shooting outdoors, especially in those coastal towns and stuff when the weather changes all the time and you just don't know what you're going to have. But for whatever reason, it's like an adrenaline rush, and once you get enough of that, I'm always like, I wanted more, I want this. It's like a junkie, you want more of this feeling. And then you can understand all those, when you have your like grip crews and gaffer crews, and you sometimes see those guys and they are like 16 hours on set. And then the next day they're shooting something else and they are 6 a.m. on set and they live like that. And you say like, how can you persist that? But they are addicted, this is adrenaline and this is the camaraderie which comes from that. Like you're together with these people. I mean, once you go with a cool crew doing even a short movie together, the bonding is incredible and you have memories and stuff. So I think the pressure is important in life as well, and you want to be under pressure, and sometimes you want to go through that, and sometimes things are happening that are not just purely designed and you haven't thought of them, but they just happen, and that's cool. Yeah.
And in terms of this one, I think that also all the crew went on a mission
yes,
that has explosions involved, so also it's risky. So kind of like it's a metaphor or what you are doing as a cinematographer, no?
yeah.
So you're doing rock, paper, and scissors, Okay.
Yeah. Another.
A few left, yeah? Pick wisely. Oh my God.
But these are 2 frames.
Yes. Show it to the camera. Because you have this short film called View from the Closet,
Yes.
and you have like Metro Exodus. And when I saw that, it clicked on my mind. Maybe you could say, nah. But I clicked on my mind something about being like held inside of something, and the answer is opening the door and going out.
Yeah.
So maybe being in your mind, in your dreams, in your nightmares, or in your paranoids, or whatever. So when I saw that, I say, how much of that is in you?
Oh my God, man. You're going deep.
Yeah, I try.
Is it a psychology podcast?
Yeah, it's right to be. I'm not psychologist, but
Yeah.
but I like to analyze things
Yeah.
and try to see the artist behind the work,
Well, it's very interesting for me because I don't think about this stuff. You know how it works. Like when you do stuff, it just, and then after time, maybe someone tells you, oh, these things are comparable. There are some, similar elements to that. And then I wasn't ever putting these 2 images in my mind, but now that you did that, it kind of makes sense, and.
Okay.
And there's just I have a lot of stories about just characters fighting, the inner demons and fighting with themselves and trying to find a way out, which is, that's the door is just a metaphor. It's just about, like you crawling out of your shell, and like becoming something different, or like, in this movie, it actually happens the otherwise. Like he hides and there's just the parallel. There's just another someone entering the apartment. But yeah, Yeah, I mean, you've picked something. I mean, I'm not on therapy right now, but if I go, I'll have like there was this guy who actually mentioned something profound.
You could have that postcard and say to the therapist, "Hey,
Yeah,
I wanted
yeah,
to
like Rorschach test, but for the psychologist, like, what do you think of this? That's
Okay.
very interesting.
I'm glad I nailing something like that. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. Oh, that's the week.
Okay. This is the project of your presentation.
Yes.
So let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that. Incredible cinematic, beautiful. All the
Thank you.
parallelism between Mayoni and Siri, and the action and the confusion part, and the, for me, reference to Alien when the monsters
Yes.
came in. So let's talk about the inner things about the Witcher.
Yeah.
Whatever you could say, because I know there are things that cannot be said.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the alien thing was from the game director Sebastian Kalemba, who is like, because there was a lot of back and forth in crafting this story, and he did call this an alien shot, which we then reference 1-to-1. But if you saw some behind the scenes materials, we had this head printed out, and we actually did this on set. Which was like, and
So
then,
the actress was like, oh my
yeah, that was Nila Hansson, and she's a Swedish stunt woman. She was actually doing all the moves for Aloy, the character from Horizon Zero Dawn. So that's all her creation, and she's an incredible stunt woman. I mean, that was my first time working with Nila. Maciek knew her, so the stunt coordinator and the guy who's doing the Geralt. But I was like amazed by how strong she is, and like she could, I'm not doing a small amount of takes, and she's like, yeah, sure, let's do another one, and like, oh, okay, yeah, I mean, she's incredible, and yeah, so this is the moment when Ciri actually walks into the Bauk's lair. So Bauk is this monster that occupies those forests, and he lives, in between those caves. And one of his abilities is to project this menacing fog. And once you are in the fog, you get, your vision gets blurry. You're hearing stuff, and like he's dragging like Ciri into his trap, and like then he's confusing her senses. But also the whole scene starts with like the introduction of this cave, and
with the shot of the trees.
yes,
Incredible.
thank
The
you.
second,
Yeah, because you have this little. If you look closely, then on the tree there are those little wells.
wine chimes.
Yes,
something.
well, yeah,
wind
exactly.
chimes.
Yeah, exactly. So the wind is just blowing them, and then you can, for the first time, see Mayoni praying like in that. So yeah, for me, I mean, interesting enough, for the first edits, I was because I love Kubrick and I love Eyes Wide Shut, and one of the most terrifying thing in Eyes Wide Shut is the score for me, the chants, the choirs, the singing,
Yeah.
those really like deep, menacing, and like I get goosebumps right now even saying about that. So for this first, I was trying to match this camera move. I mean, to design this camera movement, because it was post shoot. That we didn't shoot that because that was different idea, and I was putting that with this music, just from the Eyes Wide Shut, just to have this, and it was like really, really, really scary.
And for a shot like that, you do like, okay, you animate that, or you say, I go to a room with the camera and I create with the simulation to have like the handheld feeling.
I do think we animated that from hand. Yeah. So because in previous you have so many changes, and then just going back and forth and capturing cameras. I mean, it will take you, even if it's a small thing, it will always take you an hour at least, and then you have to drive there. You have to take the crew just to operate everything. Sometimes for this we're doing this from hand, but just to give the more organic feeling, we have it's just interesting. We have the real cameras, motion data, available that we put for the, for not like a wiggle, like a computer
You
wiggle.
drop that, and it's like
Yes,
feels
and it's
natural.
actually it's actually tracked from actual cameras. So we have this for that. And yeah, this shot took a while because it's also orchestrating just how the tree looks, And then I remember at some point there was a different tree suddenly, and I was like, "Where's my shot?" Like, and oh, someone moved the tree here. I mean, no, bring back the tree. Where's the tree? Like, who going through multiple versions that so it just matches through that. And if you see, the tree is introduced, and there's also one of the shot with Mayoni when she has a similar looking tree behind her back, which looks like a crown of thorns, which was so that's very that's the very cool part of CGI, that you can alter environment. In real life that wouldn't be possible, just to have your custom tree, but yeah.
And I have two things about this before the rest. One is the shot when she kills the monster and is going back, and is the fire in the background, and the shot is super slow. For me, that it's super beautiful and realistic and poetic. It's like the contour shape of this of
Yeah, yeah.
walking, and also at the beginning that you create this. Okay, what is this event? We don't know anything, but we feel that something is wrong with Mayoni is going out.
Yes.
But there are two childs like
Yes.
throwing flowers, smiling like, hey, it's so good. They didn't understand anything.
Yeah.
It was so
Yes. Yeah, CGI. I did a lot of CGI. Yeah, and the last frame that you're talking about, when Siri is walking out of the woods, it was one of the concept art that Carol was orchestrating, and actually we had a fight about the framing of that, but then we realized, okay, so the framing from the concept art is better than what we did, so we had to adjust our framing to what Carol proposed with the art team, because he matched the colors and the tones and the contrast beautifully. Yeah, and and CDPR started to use this as a leading image in a lot of their marketing materials.
Incredible.
So that's
Well, before we wrap up, if you want, we just flip the tree and you could choose.
okay.
Okay.
I can choose one.
Hey, they're alive.
Okay.
I could pick. You could pick whatever you want.
It depends what type of story you want.
For me, for instance, this one
Okay.
is incredible because you show like the time stretch is beautiful. If you want to show it,
Oh yeah, sure.
the time stretching of that is incredible. The impact of like an explosion, what that's have an impact like in a life, in a culture, like war, in like I don't know, in our world even,
Yeah.
and also the impact of the girl grabbing the piece of fabric, and that is the story, and there is a layer way more profound than the explosions. So the contrast between the two impacts for me was very
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, that's the CGI frame from the piece, but it's mimicking part of the live action sequence. So I have a lot of stories from this shoot. I mean, the shoot was one of the most unlucky shoots I ever had, and we did shoot this outside Dubai on a desert. And the sequences that you have in the frame are, so we shot an actress just on the desert witnessing, so it was supposed to be in Africa in the Second World War, and she was part of it's called the Berber Jews community that was around this time. And so the developers also wanted to show like the human part of the war and the tragedy. So the piece starts with her buying this beautiful fabric on the market, and then going back home. And when she goes back home through those dunes, she sees German and Allied tanks starting to fight. And later on, she sees that they are trying to approach her village. So it all becomes like a metaphor that she wants to get back to the village to warn them before what's happening. And this fabric, and she loses the fabric along the way. And she faces a threat because there is this shot when she comes so close to the tank that the tank is like warning her with actual turret. And then she finds that as you said, there's a lot of like very subtle artsy metaphors, and there is a poem on top of that she's narrating. So there is no saving for her village now, and she won't be on time as well, like Artyom, actually. And the fabric that she takes from tank is destroyed, but still it's the metaphor of basically civilian casualties during the war, and the tragedy that happens just because you are in a certain place and time, and we have the war on our in the Ukraine just right next to us, and we are also very much like involved in helping and stuff like this. So this is real life stuff, and those sequences, those were actually so you have those action sequences that are put into slow motion because of like the way she describes the story. So it is all CGI, and I wanted to scan dunes for that, but it didn't work out because I wanted to choose like a 1 kilometer square of the dunes, and then had a drone with LiDAR and with DSLR camera scanning it 5 times during one day. So from sunset from dawn, from morning till the evening. And also, so you can get basic color from LiDAR, but with the DSLR camera, you can get the high-res photos, which you can then use as an actual texture for your photogrammetry. And but the scan is much longer, so we planned I think 3 big scans and then 2 additional, just to have because the light changes very fast in the desert, so we wanted to have that.
There is wind. There is
Yes, and and then the dunes are changing. So I mean, shooting in the desert turned out just to be like a separate piece of science. Like we did the Fremen walk, like the whole crew had to go in lines just not to make marks. We had like so many events in that. Like we had rains for the first time in Dubai because they have this ability to do the rain with those silver balloons, and the rains were in Abu Dhabi, so they wanted some rains over, and it was the day before our shooting, and then the whole desert starts to be green because the vegetation goes up.
Oh my God.
And then we had the whole day for the drone, but there was a terrorist attack in Abu Dhabi, and someone flew the drone into the petrol tank, did an explosion, some people died, so the Ministry of Transportation canceled all the drone flights for 2 weeks, and we had the whole day of drone the next day. So we had to figure out a lot of stuff. So that's what I love about live action shooting, that it's more logistics and cooperation, and like just going through this the wall of issues and troubles that you have to overcome. So last I couldn't scan the desert, so we just had to create this desert to look like that. And had this because it's still it's still an action game, so it still has to be appealing for the gamers. So we did those sequences of these tank fights, intercut with this girl going through her life drama. Basically,
incredible. Well, we reached to the end. I don't want to take more time of you, but I want to give you this is a present for you to keep opening good conversations.
Can I see it now?
Of course. Did you watch 7?
I mean, you mean that's my fiance head? It's very small. Funny thing, that Brad Pitt had this in contract, so they don't change the ending. That's incredible. Jeez.
Oh my God.
Oh man, that's so cool. Thank you. I mean, I love bikes, so I'll use that. Yeah, that's my new keychain, because my last one is with snowboard, but it's all damaged. I'll use this. Thank you.
Incredible. Thank you for being part of this. I really enjoyed talking with you. It was amazing.
Thank you for this.
So Also, I want to give a massive thanks to the team of Mirabeo that made all of this is incredible. Let's name them. Manupa, Boquete, Jairo, Miguel, Anton, Héctor, Ushia, Paula y Vincent. Está perfecto, que no sabemos quién es, pero los vamos a llevar. And also to the Chris, Alba, and Manuel Meijide, and all the family from Mundos Digitales that is incredible to us, makes us feel like home. So please, if you like this episode, share it with all the people in the world. And if you didn't like it, you are wrong, because this was amazing. So comment, like, subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode of La Bicicleta Creativa. Bye-bye.